What's up guys, it's Mackenzie here. It's been a minute since I posted, again. But today I wanted to talk about the concept of lookism. Now looks play a very important part in our society. It's sad to say, but it's true. From our careers to our personal relationships, it plays a really huge part in how we go about life and how others treat us. And as a teenage girl, looks have disgustingly played a very important part in my life development. Now, anybody can look at me and say that I'm not that attractive, all right? I'm a pretty average person, to some others maybe even below average. In all my life, I have had many comments made about my looks. I remember one time in my junior year of high school, I overheard a girl talking to her friend and saying that I looked like a dolphin with Down syndrome. I don't know how she created that insult. It was funny, I'll give it to her, but it did make me feel bad about myself, and I felt terrible about it. I have been called ugly by so many people of the opposite gender. I've even had girls tell me that I was ugly, all right? And obviously, as a kid, those comments, they add up, all right? Those small little increments of insults and judgments, they all come together and create this general idea of yourself. And ever since I was younger, I've always had a big insecurity about my looks. All right, I used to hate my chin, I still do. I hate how big my nose is, still do. Like, there's so many imperfections about myself that I still can't seem to accept. I'm in the journey of accepting those features about me, but it's always this background noise in the back of my head of all those different insults and judgments I get from people. Until this day, I still get comments about my looks, even on social media. I also noticed that depending on how attractive you are and how you look, others treat you a certain way. When you're very attractive, people tend to treat you better. They treat you with respect. They favor you more, and you may not be someone of substance, but because you are beautiful or you're handsome, people may naturally have a attraction or a liking towards you. And I believe this concept is called the halo effect, which basically explains that prettier, more attractive people get treated better than unattractive or uglier people.
Yeah, hello there. It's Editor Kinsey again. I just wanted to come back and give you a good meaning of what the halo effect is because I suck at explaining things. So the halo effect is a cognitive bias where a single positive trait such as physical attractiveness, charm, or past success unconsciously influences your overall judgment of a person, brand, or product. For instance, you might automatically assume that a charismatic person is also highly intelligent or trustworthy.
Whereas when you're uglier or you're unattractive, you get treated worse. And it may not matter if you have a good personality or if you have a good skill set or better talents than that attractive person. People will treat you worse just because they do not like how you look. And I understand that it's a part of our biology, you know, being more attractive is usually associated with better health, better genetics for their offspring. But I feel like we're further in our development of our society that we really don't have to worry about that anymore. And I feel like we're past that to the point where we can look past those aspects of a person. And I used to think that lookism happens only on social media because social media is a completely different place from real life. Okay, people act differently in real life, people act differently on social media. But certain aspects of lookism on social media sometimes leaks into our real life scenarios. And there have been many times where I have witnessed it happen. And in the many experiences where I have witnessed this treatment happen in real life, it has almost always been with males. I feel like in comparison to girls and males almost always treat girls a certain way based on how attractive they are. It's almost like males don't see girls as valuable unless they have some type of physical appeal. And it's so disgusting. And don't get me wrong, there are girls out there who do the same, but looking at the experiences I've witnessed so far in my life and through social media, it's usually guys that do this. When you have people that treat you a certain way for something that you sometimes can't really control. You can't control your facial structure. You can't control the base features of your face unless you get surgery. It really does decrease your self-confidence. It makes you feel terrible about yourself. It ruins your self-image. And sometimes it builds rage in you. It builds anger towards people who have those advantages. Hence, that's why you see so many girls who aren't that confident in their physical appearance or their abilities. They often shame or get jealous of other girls who happen to have those advantages. And I also think that plays into why so many girls are in competition with each other, because society has placed girls in this box where our only value seems to be our physical appearance and our beauty. And although that's not true, society has a good way of deluding us into believing that. And I am sad to say that I've also fell victim to that ideology. I think almost every girl has fell to that ideology at some point, no matter how confident they may seem or have been. In my personal experience, I have always considered surgery. Especially recently, I've always been thinking about getting a nose job. But something tells me that even if I did fix the most ugliest features of my face, the features that I can't seem to accept, I strongly believe that even after I get the surgery, I still won't be confident in my looks. Because it seems like every time you fix something about yourself, there's always something new that you have to pick on and decipher and fix. I'm also afraid that if I get a nose job, I will make a mistake and I'm gonna regret it. And plus, I'm very young. I'm 18. I still have a lot of growing to do, so I'm gonna at least give myself 3 more years to think about it. And if I still feel a certain way about it then I will reconsider it. And also my forehead. My forehead is large, but I think I can accept my forehead more than my nose or like my face length and stuff, because I think big foreheads can be beautiful. All right, I think Rihanna, she eats a big forehead down. All right, but that's Rihanna. I'm just a regular schmegular girl on YouTube. 2 different types of people. One thing that has helped me be comfortable with my looks is that I have to accept that I may not be the prettiest girl. I may not be much of a looker. I may be a good 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10 on a good day. All right. And that's perfectly fine, because there are other aspects of myself that can make up for that. All right. You can't be a 10 out of 10 in all aspects of your character. All right. You can be the full package, but you may not be 100% maxed out in each detail of your identity. Because even though I may not be much of a looker, I think I have a decent character. I think I have a lot of substance. I mean, I still have a lot of growing to do, but I think that I do have a decent character that makes up for it. And I think every girl should think this way. You may not be the prettiest girl in the world. That's okay. There's always going to be somebody prettier than you. There's always going to be somebody that looks better than you. But other aspects of your character matters more. One thing I also started to realize is that even if you aren't your own type, even if you don't find yourself the most attractive, I don't think I'm the most attractive. Ironically, there will always be somebody who finds you attractive. And that may seem really hard to believe, especially for me, but you don't know how many times I have been approached by people that I would have never thought would approach me. It's crazy. But that just shows that you may not be everyone's cup of tea, but there's somebody out there who will look at you and be like, that's what I like. Also, in the concept of lookism, again, social media and real life are 2 different types of settings. All right, in social media, all those different concepts and standards are way more visible. Chronically online, all those things are on there. But in real life, even though those aspects can still spill into your real life is completely different. People are less confined by those standards and those obligations. People are way more normal, right? There are people out here who actually touch grass and don't depend on those weird concepts to judge somebody. And you'd be surprised at how many people out here they look completely different than how they look on social media, okay? And people in real life, for the most part, treat people normal. And don't get me wrong, there are people in real life who are surprisingly very chronically online, and they treat people a certain way based on their looks, and it's so dehumanizing and so disgusting. You just have to remind yourself that some people are immature, they're childish, they're focused on things that don't matter in the long run. All of those superficial things can all go away in a matter of seconds. So you have to learn to brush people like that off. When you get called ugly, when you get called unattractive, when somebody treats you worse than somebody else just because they don't find you appealing to look at, you just have to tell yourself they're immature, they're seeing things through the lens of materialism, and that's not a good way to go about life. And that just shows that they have some development to do, not you. You're not obligated to be appealing to somebody physically. Not to mention, a 6 out of 10 to somebody else could be a 10 out of 10 in somebody else's eyes. Beauty, I am a strong believer that beauty is highly subjective. Everyone has their own definition of attraction and beauty and all of that. So I just think that it's all subject to the person and their experiences and what they find to be appealing. And I also think that we need to stop placing so much emphasis on looks. There is so much more to a person than looks. But unfortunately, we live in times where that is the biggest currency right now. Your physical appearance, your looks. That's what opens doors for you. But I like to think that looks can open doors, but your personality, your skill set, your intelligence is what keeps you in those rooms behind those doors. Well, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for hearing me out, and I'll see you in the next video. I can't promise you the next video, but it will be in the next video. Yes, sir.